Okay, folks. At this point, we're just going for sheer quantity as well as quality. No, seriously, like I just want to produce as much video as possible and just throw it up on the internet like my whole life long. So I have this like stack of just like hours of sharing because I just love to talk, and I just love to talk about anything, like just share stuff with people. Because I'm like, there's so much to say. But seriously, I want to see people talking more. I want to see people getting philosophical with their friends in coffee shops and just being like, what does this mean, people? Especially young people. I love seeing young people ham it up and get deep with each other and just be like, we're gonna sort this one out if it takes us all night long. People love to talk. I always marvel. I love the fact that females in particular love to talk. Now, females need to talk about my favorite subject, which is God. That's what everyone needs to be talking about, because there's so much to say once you're talking about God, because everything is for God. But I love talking. I love conversation. People need to get together and just talk. And you'll be amazed at what comes out of you, and you'll be amazed at what comes out of them. When two people get together with an unlimited amount of time, like an open-ended date, I call it, hours, I'm talking hours, and you just start talking, okay, and you start sharing with each other, you will be amazed at how much joy you will experience. There is nothing in technology that we need to be completely happy. We need to get together and talk and talk and talk until you know me so completely well and I know you so completely well that we are just really, really united. And if we don't agree with something, then we'll just keep talking. And we'll just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking until, at the very least, we love each other so much that we don't care about that disagreement and we're just singing our heads off. Because that's what talking does. It's not complicated. I marvel at how women in particular are these superhero secret agents of love in the world. Have you ever thought about it that way? Women are like superheroes for love. They protect men from going berserk and just fighting with each other about cheesy stuff. Because women love to talk. And they love to be listened to. And if everyone just got together and talked a lot more, we would all be far happier, all be more in love, and all be completely content. Because words are king. Words are the glory of God. Words are king beyond all kings. Words are the glory of God. Everything that happens in this universe is a result of God speaking. He's commanding angels with words. And I just feel like I could talk all day long. I could just enjoy talking with someone all day long. If I was stranded on a private island with another person, probably a female, I would talk all day long. And I would listen all day long. And I would just be happy all day long. Because I don't need more than the glory of words and the knowledge of God. God can tell us new things while we just sit there on the private island. We don't even need the internet. That's the cool thing. It's just, you know. But people are longing to talk more. They really are. They really are. People are starting to talk more. They're starting to share more. They're starting to open up. They're starting to express themselves more. They're starting to share their opinions more. I have a real passion to see individual people having individual one-on-one conversations at length with each other. Because I know that's love happening in real time. And the cool thing is, as we share, as we give, we receive more. That is a spiritual truth of the Bible. It's a literal law that God ordained. As we open our mouths and share anything we have to share, even just sharing our life story, sharing ourselves with someone else, telling someone what we know. Here's what I've experienced. Here's what I know. Here's what I've experienced. When we open our mouths and just share with someone, God gives more back to us. And that's the pleasure of conversation. This is a lost art in our modern age. People don't even know how to go deep in conversation. They don't have time allotted to conversation. I love the fact that in Europe, they take a 2-hour lunch. 2-hour lunch just to converse with each other. Now, God, ideally, would be at the center of most conversations. That's my favorite subject. But I'm at the place where I can enjoy anyone who is willing to simply enjoy presence and conversation. I think everyone is truly able and willing to enjoy. They just need to be invited in. And they need to be able and willing to take a large chunk of time just to make conversation and not feel awkward about it. The problem we have now in this sickening age where there's all sorts of weird mindsets about what people have and want, and if you read the newspaper, I say, if you absorb the secular mainstream media, you would honestly think that the world is full of crazy psychopaths. No one can be trusted. If someone wants to have a conversation with you, they probably have an agenda. I'm like, I am not that person. When you're redeemed, I want to enjoy you. We've lost that, and it's a great loss. It's one of the greatest losses of our society today. I feel like crying when I say this. If I was to ask a woman out for a conversation, a drink, whatever, I would be instantly met with, I'm talking on average, I would be met with suspicion, fear, and unwillingness to do so. I don't know why, because people have creepy mindsets thinking this guy wants to get something out of me. I'm like, no, I just enjoy human conversation. And I would like to enjoy that gift of God together with you. And honey, you better be capable of enjoying it for a long amount of time, because I enjoy it a lot and I have no agenda to get something out of you. Like, you just feel like screaming. It's like, oh boy. So, seriously, the long lost art of conversation. The most important thing people need to do is share themselves. I wonder how many people on this earth at this point in their life, this is creepy, folks. It's shocking how detrimental this whole thing is. How many people at whatever place they are in life right now have ever had the chance, have ever actually told their entire life story to another human being on this planet who actually listened and loved hearing the whole thing? That's shockingly bad. It's gross what we have today. Individual people need to be encouraged to share their entire life story. We do not have enough listeners in this world. We do not have enough conversationalists in this world. Folks, love is all you need. Love is all you need. I've always said the reason business people do what they do is because they're actually looking for love, but they're just on a very shallow level apart from Christ. And so when they do their transactions, when they do their paperwork, and when they do their calculations, and when they do their business talks throughout the day, what they're actually crying out for is deep, prolonged conversation on real things that matter to them, but they're not quite ready to go there, so they'll do business talk. Okay? People want to be loved. People want to be known. People want to share their entire life story with someone who actually cares and looks at them as incredibly special. That is what every human being on earth needs and wants. That's a true friend, is someone who just... I am so fascinated by individual people. I don't care about a mass blanket of humanity so much as I would enjoy a deep one-on-one length of time, like let's say 3 hours. I think 3 hours of one-on-one conversation with another human being, where I hear their entire life story, they hear my entire life story, and we just keep talking until some serious, like people, intimacy, just intimacy is satisfaction. And I'm not even talking, man, people just take that word intimacy now. It's like people extrapolate that to like weird thoughts in their mind. I'm like, it's not a physically intimate word. Intimacy is just how much time have you spent with someone? How much do you know about them? It's just, I marvel that the word that God ordained in the Bible for Adam having sexual intercourse with Eve is actually the same Hebrew word for knowledge. It says Adam knew Eve. That is to say, Adam, it's like you should know someone. Like, you gotta, just know people. But I seriously feel that people don't even know how to converse anymore. Like, they just don't even know how to enjoy conversation. Like, just just enjoy using words. Enjoy speaking. Enjoy listening. Like, I'll tell you one thing, there is no satisfaction in just being an audience. It's unbelievable how many people are just being an audience to sports, entertainment stuff. Stuff like this is great because at least we're sharing truth. We're talking about stuff that matters. Okay? It's not just a diversion of some sort that doesn't actually discuss anything meaningful. But at the end of your life, folks, it's like you're going to wish you had more intimate, real conversations with people. You're not going to care about anything that you worked on. I'm already looking back on my life up until this point, as long as I currently have lived, and if you do the same with your life, you'll come to the same conclusion. Just consider your life up until now. Look back. Anything that you've ever worked on as far as a product is concerned is a joke. It was dumb, it was stupid. Any deep, real conversation you had with another human being was precious. It was gold. It was wonderful. It was the way life is supposed to be. So I would counsel any young people that are growing up in that early age to choose a career that is rich in love. Choose a career where you have daily, frequent opportunity to have real, love-filled, caring-filled, God-filled conversations with individual people. Because that is the goal. That is life. God is love. You will be satisfied there. You will not be nearly as satisfied if you work in dead products, unliving things. Okay? Now, what I pray for is that we would see an increase in the level of what I call a sense of safety for people to open up. We know that people open up sometimes when they hit rock bottom in counseling offices and psych wards. I would like to see a culture that is transparent, where people are more comfortable just simply being open. Okay? And that gets cultivated ultimately by fathers and mothers. The best way that all that stuff is modeled is in the biological home. The father, the husband, and the wife demonstrate to the children what transparency and pleasurable conversation and enjoyability and love looks like. And that's how the children get it. And do that for their entire lives. There's no better place than that. But I think people come to churches looking for answers. People come to churches because they're thirsty. They don't have loving relationships in their lives. They try coming to a church service, and all the dumb church service is some guy sharing facts from the Bible that we could all read on our own. And there's no encouragement, and there's no structure in place. There's no push. There's no collaboration there to really encourage people in one-on-one relationships, okay, and in individual time together. I would even go so far as to say, they should, people should just almost get this sort of thing organized. It's like, why don't you do something cool? Create something called the one-on-one night, where literally you can take a batch full of people that are complete strangers. Do this in your church. Pastors out there, do this in your church. You'll see marvelous nourishment. You can grab people of similar ages. I think that would be ideal. Don't make it female or male only. No, you cross mingle everyone. But you can do age categories and just take complete strangers, and and people show up for what is called one-on-one night. And the night is booked for, I'm a generous person. I fully believe that God's children have lots of time, and I'm a believer in appreciating people and going deep and sharing lots of time with people. If I was in command, I would honestly book this evening a 4-hour time slot at least. Because that's how much time it takes to get to appreciate another human being at a meaningful level that you'll never forget. And it will actually be pleasurable, and you'll actually find satisfaction in the level that you know them and they know you. Okay? So, one-on-one night. People of a specific category of age, say maybe a 7-year range. Okay? People from this bottom age, plus 7 years, anyone in that age range can show up for this one-on-one night for that age range. Complete strangers. This is so healthy for appreciation of other human beings. It's so healthy for your understanding of God and your worship of God. When you get to understand new people and you meet new people and you see them as created in the image of God and get to know what they would love to do with their lives. You can supply, if you wanted, you could, no, don't supply questions for this. And literally when people show up for this one-on-one night, this is Christian, this is fostering true Christian love here. Okay, and worship. I preach that when you meet someone new, you should ask yourself, what can this person teach me about God? What am I going to see new about the glory of God in who this person is, what they desire, what their interests are? It's going to expand my mind of who God is. Okay, and literally, a complete batch of people just shows up at one-on-one night, and literally, you just draw names out of a hat, pair people together and say, here, you guys just talk to each other and enjoy talking to each other. You can have drinks there, whatever. Just enjoy talking to each other for 45 minutes. So you will talk with 4 people for 45 minutes, and it's what we call a marathon. If you're not comfortable sitting with one other human being and talking for 45 minutes, then you need to grow. You simply need to grow in your appreciation of other human beings and your ability to love someone. And get to know them. 45 minutes. 45 minutes, you sit there with another human being in Christ. You're on the same foundation. That's what's safe about this. You're meeting in the church if you want. Okay, meet in the church. People that attend this event are going to be people who are Christ-seeking, There's plenty of Christians in the room. It's not like someone is going to be creepy or something dumb like that. Sit down with someone that God drawn out of a hat, you trust the sovereignty of God, that whatever names come out are meant to get together, and you sit there with that person and you talk for 45 minutes. If that's a bit too long to start, you could start with like half an hour, whatever. But it has to be no shorter than a half an hour. No shorter than a half an hour. Because people have to break this addiction of just breezing by the world and breezing by human beings. As if there was no gold on the inside of them. As if there was no humanness there. As if there was no love walking down the street everywhere they go. As if there were no neighbors. We've got a culture where people are just addicted to just passing people. No one gets to know anyone, and therefore no one has any friends. And no one is living a life of love. Passing people. So, one-on-one night. No shorter than a half an hour with whatever given person was drawn out of the hat. You trust the sovereignty of God, that the names that were drawn are supposed to be together. For that half an hour, you have drinks supplied. And you just say, enjoy the person. There is no agenda. You just enjoy that person. And you get to know them. Okay? It's that simple. And believe me, people will leave that place being extremely nourished, I guarantee you always, when you talk with someone for half an hour, you'll learn something about life, and you'll learn something about God that you didn't know before. And you can even put out some very interesting, obvious questions that you can ask anyone that will always yield that. Say, can you tell me something about God that you think I might not know right now? It's a perfect question that you can ask someone in that context. And chances are, they actually will tell you something about God that you don't know. And you'll be like, wow, that was profound. And this all encourages discipleship. It encourages leadership. Above all, it's just plain enjoyable. And it's just plain love. In the highest level. Remember, when God created mankind in the Garden of Eden, He did not create Adam with a microphone and 4,000 Eves for him to preach to in a very unsatisfying one-way street. When God created Adam and Eve and mankind in the Garden of Eden, He created one man and one woman and said, you two talk to each other and enjoy it one-on-one. Well, if God said one-on-one is the highest pleasure, then what are we doing in churches when we all show up and one guy at the front is just downloading us information? We're all sitting there, bored out of our skulls, because we're not alive, we're not responding to questions, we're not responding to the person next to us, we're not enjoying personal conversation, we're sitting there getting slowly dronified by this one guy. It's a waste of time. Here's what you do. You have what is called one-on-one night, where people actually get to know each other and they share knowledge of God with each other. Because believe me, people have a lot of life experiences that would be so enriching to so many people in the church if we could just share with each other. And then people would actually feel loved, and they would actually feel connected to the church community, and they would actually come back. So you know what? That guy was cool. I actually got to know someone. And now, when I see them in church, I'm going to want to come up to them and whatever. As you get older, as God grows you and matures you spiritually, you find more pleasure in love and in conversation than you did when you were younger. I'm just saying this is a spiritual maturity thing. When you were younger, you were into travel. You were into sights. You were into entertainments. You were into visual things. When you mature spiritually, you graduate to higher pleasures. You are into conversation. You are into getting to know people. You are into love. You are into intimacy with human souls. You do not have a lot of patience for being an audience. people are tired of this audience culture. Did you know that all of this audience culture has largely come about because of microphones? Jesus didn't have a microphone in his day. That meant more intimacy. People had to get closer to hear him. You know? There was no fancy lighting that was like putting him in a spotlight on a stage and everyone else was in darkness. People were probably talking to each other while he was speaking, discussing what he was saying. Saying, well, did you make sense of that? Someone would say, well, what I think he was saying was this. You know, he was referring to the scripture over here. Oh, yeah. It's very collaborative. You know, very lively. So, and folks, when I look at the average job, this is an epidemic, folks. I look at the average job in even developed countries, and on the average job, no one really talks to each other. That's how unbelievably unskilled we are in being able to talk to each other. The closer you get to God, the more you feel like having deep, pleasurable conversations with other human beings. Let me say that again. The closer you get to God, the more you desire having real, deep, honest, pleasurable, long, open conversations with other individual human beings. You will even desire it more, I would say, than preaching to a large audience. Okay? Because remember, the gold medal is what God gave us in the Garden of Eden. One man, one woman. The two of them talking together was paradise. God did not create Adam and 4,000 Eves and said to Adam, here, you preach to the masses. That's going to be your pleasure. Nonsense. And he did not create one Eve, and he did not, this is another thing he didn't do. God did not create Eve with 400 friends, or even 2 girlfriends. God did not create 3 Eves and say, okay, Eve, you're married to Adam, but the other 2 girls are just there to be your friends. You know, so that there's a foursome of you, and you guys can kind of hang out and do shallow things together and just be like a foursome. No. God created the one-on-one relationship as a way of saying to us, one-on-one is the most satisfying way for human beings to interact. The more one-on-one time you have in this life, the happier you will be. And I'm saying that to the church at large, because it's not fair that people come to a church service hungry, thirsty, longing for friendships and to be known, and one guy stands on the stage, gets to share his entire life with the congregation. So now the entire congregation is, you know, getting to know him, and he's all feeling happy and blessed because of the so-called pseudo-intimacy he has with all this large number of people. He's sharing his whole life with them, and they're just listening amazingly. You know, it's like people are that starved, you know, to get to know someone openly that they'll just sit there, you know, and listen to a guy talk. I'm like, you know, but people aren't getting to know each other. They're not practicing speaking themselves. They're not encouraged to do the same thing that the preacher is doing with each other. Okay? And we simply have a society that is not confessional. We have a society that does not appreciate the art of conversation like it should. I enjoy deep... You need people that are able to go deep, and that's the great desire. And that's what the Christians are supposed to do. Okay? So, is anyone else out there tired of people that just can't even make conversation? You ever tried that? It's bad right now. You ever tried that? You ever tried starting a conversation? This is one of my favorite quotes from Dr. James Dobson. He said, conversation is like a game of tennis. When someone hits you the ball, you have to hit it back in order for the game to be pleasurable. If someone just keeps serving the ball at you and you never hit the ball back, well, the game is going to be over. The other person is going to be frustrated and just walk away, saying that they don't even return the ball to me. I've had this happen to me in places where I ask people a couple questions about their life, starting to get to know them. I ask them some questions. Maybe I keep going, and they don't ask me a single question back about my life. That's what you call the one-sided tennis game that is not enjoyable. There's a lot of, ooh boy, do I want to go here? Yes, I do. There's a lot of stuck-up women these days that are like that. It's like you ask them questions about themselves. You're just simply trying to get to know them, enjoying the pleasure of conversation, and there's no tennis ball coming back. Like, there's no capability inside of them somehow to like show some interest in the other human being. It's like, wow, so it's like relationships are just like a game of tennis. You hit the tennis ball to the other person. When the ball comes to you, you just hit it back. If you're ever unsure how to hit it back, just pull the old question, how about you? It's that simple. How about you? There, you just hit the ball back into the other person's court. Now it's their turn to talk and respond. Like, it's just... Here's another thing I've noticed. I just love sharing everything I've ever learned in life and seen. Here's another thing I've noticed. A person that stays on the same conversation subject for a longer amount of time is someone who truly enjoys the art of conversation. What's really annoying is when someone is just changing the subject all over the place. It's like, whoa, could we just like slow down and appreciate this little area of life for a while? You know, don't be so quick to just like, oh, oh, look at the hockey game. I'm like, whoa, easy. Anyways, like, this is a universal truth. People need to learn to enjoy the moment rather than something in the future, rather than some kind of outcome of the moment. This is true for fitness and physical exercise and being a personal trainer. You don't encourage someone to focus on the results, saying, I need to lose 20 pounds. No, you don't. What you need to do is learn to enjoy the moment of exercise pleasure. You need to enjoy the moment-by-moment pleasure of your physical body in motion. That's what you need. You need to find and enjoy the pleasure of moment-by-moment exercise of your physical body. The results will take care of themselves once you fall in love with the moment-by-moment pleasure of what it is that you're doing. Same thing is true with conversation and talking and words. Don't consider that there's a purpose to your conversation. There's a purpose for this meeting. We need to arrive at a conclusion. There's only one reason that we're getting here to talk. We need to resolve something. We need to get a purpose. Guys are particularly bad at this. Men are particularly terrible at this. They think there's got to be a purpose to this conversation. We need to solve a problem. We need to arrive at a conclusion. We need to do some business. I need to get some money out of this person. I need to strike a deal. That's the goal. That's why I'm here. If I don't get the goal, the whole thing was a waste of time. Do you see how that is completely wrong? That whole spirit is completely wrong. What is completely right is moment by moment enjoyment of conversation. Moment by moment enjoyment of the other human being with you. So it doesn't matter if you accomplish anything. It doesn't matter if you solve anything. It doesn't matter if you strike a deal. It doesn't matter if you arrange future plans. It doesn't matter if something does or does not happen. The only thing that matters is the moment-by-moment pleasure of simply conversing. And God has been speaking to me about this, that it's all about presence. Being together with another human. It has nothing to do with what gets discussed. That's why we human beings are even so satisfied to just talk about the weather. Because it doesn't really matter what we talk about. We just want to enjoy the pleasure of conversation. Now that you know the purpose of conversation is pleasure, because God wants you to be full of pleasure. When you're in a conversation with someone, you should invite them into the subject that brings them tremendous pleasure to talk about. You'll find it. They'll confess it. You can even ask them, what's your favorite thing to talk about? And whatever they say, you just stay there. Stay there the whole time and make sure they are having maximum pleasure in conversation. Because that's the whole point. The whole point is enjoyment of each other. That is the goal. It's moment by moment. There's not something at the end of the line that you're trying to achieve. No, it's the moment by moment pleasure of being together and conversing. And that's what I would counsel people to do. Get together with someone else for the pure moment by moment pleasure of conversation. Just like when you go to the gym to get your exercise, you are going there for the pure moment by moment pleasure of your physical body in motion. Results and plans and outcomes will naturally follow. If you just simply enjoy the moment by moment thing that God created for us to be able to do, all the outcomes will just take care of themselves. And then your job is to make sure the other person is enjoying that moment by moment feeling. So there's no agenda except enjoyment. That's it. There's no agenda except moment by moment enjoyment. That is the agenda. The agenda is moment by moment enjoyment. And I would love to see young people set free to partake of this. And I would love to see mindsets healed. You know, when you pull away from secular media, and when you don't even watch TV, and you don't even watch any of the secular filth that is out there, you don't even have your mind within 1,000 miles of all that sex-filled junk. Okay? You are what is called free. You are what is called pure in heart. You are what is called capable of enjoying another person moment by moment in conversation without lusting for some crazy, ridiculous, unsatisfying thing. I honestly believe that I could talk to people one-on-one all day long if they were willing to open up with me and be real. Because there is such nourishment in it, there's such satisfaction in it, and there's healing in it. God will lead you to ask the right questions, and He'll lead you to say the right things. Okay, so it's amazing to me. You know, there's people that say all that you need is love. It's actually pretty true. It's actually pretty true. It actually, like, I just feel like saying that again. It's like, wow, it actually is really true. All right, people. So, find someone that you can talk to for a long amount of time, one-on-one today, and be fascinated. Be fascinated. Okay? And I'm just going to keep preaching about everything that I see or experience in this world. Because it's so satisfying to share your opinion on everything. Quantity. I'm going for quantity over quality. It's like, quantity over quality. Just keep blabbing. Keep blabbing, people.